Hello everyone, my name is Ten Weish, but you probably know that since you're subscribed to the channel. This is a format I'm going to try out because I'm wanting to cover more things in the news a little quicker, while I'm also these are things that I'm not probably going to make a big video about, but hey, I'll update you if I change my mind on topics like this. But I want to put out more content for you guys. I want to put out, more stuff quicker. That way you guys always have something to kind of look at and, you can interact with my face more. Yeah. I think you guys will like this, but, a little behind the scenes thing here, for the bigger videos and what's happening. But today, let's get into the story. Xbox, a company with no plan, no leadership, and the company that continues to make this irrelevant YouTuber very correct. They have shut down several notable studios, including the only studio recently to put out anything good exclusive to the Xbox brand. They shut them down too. So why? Why did any of this have to happen, and what does it mean for the future of the Xbox brand? Let's get into it right now. So first off, elephant in the room, Sony, if you were at all worried about your image after the whole Helldivers 2 thing, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Phil Spencer and Xbox usually take it very personally when somebody is more incompetent than them. And so keeping the award of who can slam their dick in a door hardest is they want to keep that an Xbox exclusive, just to them. You know what I mean? So I think Sony's going to be just fine. Sadly, I wasn't quick enough to cover that story, but the current state of Xbox, why are they doing what they're doing right now? So usually when you lay people off, it's to give yourself a quick boost. Xbox right now is in a massive crunch. They need short-term gains to supplement their current spending. Of course, they bought Bethesda and all those studios that, comes with, and they bought Activision and all the studios that comes with. Now they are the ones responsible to have to give out money, and when, a studio wants to hire more people, guess who they have to go to? They have to go to Daddy Phil Spencer and figure it out, and, you have to support that studio with that money. But usually this is not what we see when layoffs come in the gaming industry. Activision a long time ago had a successful Call of Duty launch, and they didn't necessarily, I assume, the growth they were going to show to shareholders. And so when you lay people off, boom, you immediately get a larger growth. Xbox right now is in a worse position because they're just kind of bad at their jobs, and I don't know if it's Phil Spencer's fault or not, but we'll get into that later. So yes, right now they need short-term gains to supplement their spending, and what you can do is lay people off across 4 studios, 2 of them being very big. Arkane Austin, which I got to visit when I thought I wanted to be a video game designer before I figured out the whole industry was a hellhole. Arkane Austin, of course, a little infamous for Redfall at this point, but they also made the great Dishonored games, and apparently they were thinking about making another Dishonored game. So it kind of sucks. And the very big one, Tango Gameworks, the makers of The Evil Within, but more importantly, Hi-Fi Rush, an actual success for Xbox. Whether that was a, big financial success for them, that remains to be seen, I guess, at this point. So, of course, the reason you have to do this, even with a successful game, is, especially in Hi-Fi Rush's case, there's a very specific thing there, but right now, you're not doing that well. Xbox for a long time has been spending a lot, but they've not been making a whole lot of money. They've never pushed their consoles. They've been trying to push the Game Pass, I guess, across PC and everything like that. But at this point, they're kind of a sinking ship that's probably never going to sink, but at this point, they're just kind of stuck where they are right now because of their mismanagement at this point. And the second reason, of course, is they got more failures at the wrong time. Starfield and Redfall. Redfall came at a horrible time for Xbox. They had just bought more stuff and they were finishing off another acquisition, and they needed to show some success, at least financial success at the very least. Redfall was a major thing they did not need. And even Starfield, for what it was not exactly a system seller or Game Pass seller or anything like that really helped Microsoft, kind of stabilize and keep everything afloat. Right now, they just didn't need these huge mistakes right now. And these are the 2 main reasons that they're doing what they're doing right now. And sadly, right now, due to the mismanagement of the people above all of these developers, these developers must lose their jobs now. Even when they're successful, they have to lose their jobs because Phil Spencer, not Todd Howard, not anybody else has to take accountability. It's got to be the devs underneath them. But even in the game industry, as I pointed out earlier, even when you're successful and the company is doing well, sometimes you'll lose your job just so everybody can look better and you can deliver more money to less people. Isn't that just a grand thing that we do in the game ending industry? But right now, one of the biggest things I like to talk about is who, just like a quick thing, who is kind of more to blame on this? Because there's two sides of this you can blame. The PR side of Xbox has never once done a good job, in my opinion. Listen, this is my uneducated opinion on marketing, but when you have something to sell, like the PlayStation 5 does, they focus around their console. Xbox has never focused around anything. They've never once said, like, Game Pass is the thing. That is the thing we're putting all our effort into. So if you buy the Game Pass, you're going to get awesome stuff for that. If you buy the Xbox console, buy the console. The console is the thing that is going to let you get access to all of our awesome Xbox stuff. They've never said that. But when you look at the PlayStation 5 and Sony, buy the console, you'll get all the cool stuff that we have in our ecosystem. But another thing for me is that Xbox has never been able to put out the same quality as PlayStation, not even in the slightest. Starfield was the only thing that came close, I guess, but even that, most people just agreed that it was just kind of, all right, it was fine, it was mid. Like, Sony, for the amount of resources that Microsoft has at its disposal at this point, Microsoft currently cannot put anything out to the same quality. They have the same amount of influence, power, money probably as Sony does, but they cannot put out anything of the same quality of God of War, Returnal, Helldivers 2, even though it was kind of hit, it was touch and go there for a minute. But like Ghost of Tsushima, somehow Xbox cannot put out anything on that same level. Even if it's not necessarily a financial success, that can still work in your favor because you're selling whatever it is behind that thing. If it takes the Game Pass to play that awesome game that we now have, people are going to buy the Game Pass more. If it takes that console, if the console is the thing you're telling people they need to buy to play this awesome game, they're going to buy the console. And that's why PlayStation is ahead right now. And that's why Xbox is having to do the things that they're doing right now. I'm a broken record on this, but Xbox has had several issues that people always keep pointing out. Not just me, but actual people in the industry. And they've just never fixed them. But of course, those are my initial thoughts and everything I can glean from what I can see that is publicly available. But right now, we should probably listen because there is more reporting coming out from Jason Schreier, a very good journalist. Follow him on Twitter because he is the person you can go to for a lot of good information in the games industry. He says, from Jason's article, employees were shocked by the unexpected shuttering Tuesday of 3 Xbox subsidiaries in the absorption of a 4th. Tango was in the process of pitching a sequel, said the people who asked not to be identified discussing non-public information. During a town hall with ZeniMax staff on Wednesday morning, Xbox President Matt Booty praised Hi-Fi Rush but did not specify why the company had shut down the development studio behind it, according to 3 people who were in attendance. Booty then added that the shutdown of subsidiary Arkane Austin, the longtime developer of games such as Prey, was not connected to the performance of its new multiplayer game Redfall, a critical and commercial flop. So apparently they can give no reasons at this point, and then go on to give the exact reasons, generally speaking, of why they shut down these studios. Speaking about the closures more broadly, Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin, like peanut butter on bread, and that the leaders across the division had felt understaffed, so they decided to close these studios to free up resources elsewhere, he said. Furthermore, Jill Braff, head of ZeniMax Studios, said in the town hall that she hoped the reorganization would allow the division, which also develops Fallout and Doom, to put more focus on fewer projects. Quote, "It's hard to support 9 studios all across the world with a lean central team with an ever-growing plate of things to do," she said according to the audio of the meeting reviewed by Bloomberg. Quote, from Jill Braff, "I think we were about to topple over," she added. So apparently, no one can support all of these studios, but you've already bought all of them, and no one cares. And this was pointed out by Nick Calandra, another journalist on YouTube, reacting to this exact thing. So, you buy up all these studios, promise them resources to be successful, and then when they ask for resources because they're understaffed, they're closed outright. Make it make sense. What he is referring to is another quote from Matt Booty, I believe here, and that says, Both Tango and Arkane released games last year and were looking to hire additional staff as they pitched new projects, which Booty and Braff suggested was the main factor behind their closures. So, of course, the question has been asked, why would you buy something that you can't actually support? Why buy Bethesda when you know they have 9 studios that you need to now support? Well, sadly, that's the world we live in. Sometimes you can just buy things and you can then do whatever you want with them, sadly. But there's also other reasons that you buy all of these things, which is pointed out by Christopher Dring of GamesIndustry.biz here, and he points it out pretty succinctly. But of course, the opportunity to own IP like Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Doom was probably an opportunity Microsoft couldn't pass up. Fable is wonderful, but it's not exactly Skyrim. When you're spending $7.5 billion on Bethesda, the bulk of that cost is because of Bethesda Game Studios and its major RPG franchises. It isn't because of Dishonored or The Evil Within. It took a bit of kicking from Xbox fans on social media when I admitted I wasn't a fan of Microsoft's bid to buy Activision, but it wasn't because I felt the deal would somehow destroy PlayStation, but rather because the bulk of that $69 billion was for Call of Duty and Candy Crush, and not Crash Bandicoot or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So what might become of them? Sadly, when you buy all of these things, you now get to sit on all of these IPs that no one else gets to touch. And you just sit there like a dragon hoarding all of its gold. And that is a story we've seen across the industry. It is very unlikely that if you're a fan of The Evil Within, or you're a fan of Fable necessarily, even though there's apparently a game coming out for it sometime someday, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, any of the other franchises that any of these companies own, you're probably not going to see them. And it sucks because I was a really big fan of the Dishonored franchise. So, sadly for everyone, we just get more capitalist people just being as hyper-capitalist as they can. I'm not a communist or anything, but man, hearing stories like this every single day, it's hard not to drift over into Commieland every single day. Joseph Stalin is begging me to just embrace him more and more every day. So, of course, sadly, with the consolidation of everything, Xbox right now, their future is murky. It's actually clearer to me now than it really has been. We've actually gotten some reporting on what the plan was for Xbox at this point right now. So apparently the plan was, to paraphrase, they wanted to buy up these acquisitions and things like that, and then through those games that they now have access to, you've got, Skyrim, I think was already on the Game Pass maybe, but you've got all of the Call of Duties you can put on the Game Pass. You've got access to so many games, tons of different games, not even just console games, mobile games that you can probably bring over to the Game Pass in some form on PC and things like that. And now we've got all of these we can put on the Game Pass, and now everyone's going to be in on it. We're going to see Game Pass subs soar, and no, you will not actually. Gaming subs like PS Plus, Xbox Game Pass aren't growing at all. Stagnant for several years now. There was immense pressure on Sony at the beginning of the generation to copy Xbox Game Pass's model of day one first-party releases, but as time goes by, it's beginning to look like the Japanese giant dodged a bullet. While it has significantly improved its PS Plus offerings, the platform holder has always argued Microsoft's model of giving away first-party titles day one is unsustainable, and with the closure of Bethesda's stalwarts Tango Gameworks and Arkane Austin this week, that looks increasingly true. And we continue to see things like this, as right now The Verge is reporting Microsoft is considering increasing the price of the Game Pass, internal debate about whether to put Call of Duty into Game Pass whatsoever, and growing discontent and fear among Xbox employees about what comes next. So nothing is going straightforward for them. So if the plan was for Microsoft or Xbox, if you were planning on the Game Pass is going to be the main thing we focus on, and with all of these new, things that we can put on there, the money will roll in. But it just simply hasn't at this point. So it does look like Game Pass is a great deal for the people who are buying into it, but not a great deal for the people who are running it right now. I've had my questions about Game Pass on whether Starfield was a day one thing on the Game Pass, and I pretty much got it for free. I just didn't really understand how you were making all of that money back, especially with Starfield being such a big investment of time, money especially, and I just didn't really get the business model there. I was willing to wait and see, but it just doesn't look like it's working out right now. And once again, Xbox is going to have to change or do something else. This has led to kind of a rebellion at this point. For Xbox fans, I have been saying for a while now, I don't even know why people are still with Xbox. If you're doing this console war thing on the side of Xbox, what do you have to show? Honestly, what do you have to show in this console war thing? If you don't know, I follow several people I like to hate watch because I hate console war people. But, I mean, there's one I like to watch. Peter Ovo on Twitter and X has changed. Used to be a very big Xbox defender, and I would argue with him sometimes on Twitter. His bio now says, cancel Xbox and Game Pass, XEX box fan. It's getting bad out here. Their fans are very much, it seems, done with them, or at least another large portion of them are now done. Peter Ovo also put another tweet, there's literally no point for Xbox. Xbox consoles could leave the market and nobody would miss them. Don't at me, Xbox, I'm just an EXX bot. I don't know if it's a troll, but honestly, I kind of agree. Xbox consoles could leave the market. I don't think anybody would care. At this point, Xbox just seems to be a big old publisher that is got a really, poor business model at this point. And it just goes to show you that as you keep looking over Twitter and things like that, their fans are angry. They've made everyone else mad who knows how hard all of these developers work on all of these games. And suddenly now they are the ones paying for Phil Spencer and everybody else's poor decisions at this point. And I think, just to finish this off, I think this puts a nice bookend on just how poor a job Xbox in general Phil Spencer has done at this point. This is from Eurogamer, from Chris Tapsell, and he puts it pretty well at this point. Xbox has spun its wheels for more than a decade, lurching from U-turn to U-turn, strategic reboot to strategic reboot, acquisition to acquisition, closure to closure. The good times have always felt over the horizon. Project Scorpio will set the tone. Game Pass is the future. The Series X will have the games. Starfield will jumpstart Game Pass, now it's stalled. The growing sentiment today is that they'll probably never come. And that's where we're at with Xbox. And I hate to say I told you so, but no, never mind. I like to say I told you so. Everyone, listen, maybe I was a little early saying everything, but I think the warning signs were clear. And it doesn't take a genius to see the position Xbox has been in for a while now. How do they get out of it? You're going to have to start doing what Sony does. And I remember I had a Phil Spencer quote that he, paraphrasing here, he said something about, we're not going to out-console Sony, or we can't just be a green version of what the blue brand does or anything like that. And where are we at now, Phil? What are we doing now? This person with a bachelor's in psychology, nothing to do with business. Somehow I was able to diagnose your problems without even being in the same room with you. It's a sad state of affairs when I'm able to, do these things and point out these things. That's why you should subscribe to the channel, by the way. But yeah, Xbox's future is kind of clear at this point. You need to start doing what PlayStation is doing. You need to start putting out actual good games. But sadly, they've got a lot of good studios they can lean on right now, but they own... there's the Stalker game coming out in the future. I hope it's good. I have no idea about it. I've never seen anything from the studio. But sadly for Xbox, what they need to do is they don't have a Naughty Dog. They don't have a Sucker Punch, or they don't have a lot of these big studios that make a lot of these big games that PlayStation has right now. So are you guys going to bet your money on Bethesda game studios putting out the next The Last of Us, the next God of War, the next anything good? Because we just saw their best version. I don't know what you do. Apparently, Xbox at this point, if I'm them, I'm just investing in what Activision has. I'm not... Bethesda Game Studios is a poor bet, in my opinion. They are not going to help you get out of this mess. At this point, you should probably take some of those IPs that Bethesda has, move them over, and let other people work with them. You need to do that. Let other people work with those AAA IPs that Bethesda has, because Bethesda Game Studios is a very, very poor bet to, hey, we need to get out of this mess. Todd Howard and the co are not going to do that for you, because they barely put out good games at this point. They put out mid games at this point. Let Call of Duty kind of carry you for a little bit. move all of those IPs over to actual teams with, actual good leadership and management on them. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be hard for anybody to come into the situation that Phil has right now. But listen, Phil is a guy that I think he has a genuine passion for video games at this point. I feel like he is a guy who, if I sat down and I talked with him for a little while, I would feel how much he loves gaming. I could probably, admit that. But is he the guy? No. He is obviously not the guy at this point. He has, been here for how long? So Phil has been there since 2014, roughly, following the launch of the Xbox One. That was after the whole TV debacle of the Xbox. You've been there for a decade now, my man. Why are things not better? Your console war fans are even leaving you. I mean, it's not good right now. And the sad thing is, I used to say that, hey, if Phil Spencer leaves, we have no idea who comes up next. Maybe they're worse. Maybe they're actually they don't have any passion for gaming. Maybe it's like a Bobby Kotick type character who literally thinks gaming is a waste of time and then tries to basically turn everything into a live service or anything like that. We could get that type of person. But Phil Spencer has shown that even though he has a passion for gaming, even though he has all of these things, he's still willing to do some of these things. He's still willing to shut down studios that need to be shut down just because of their screw-ups. Phil's got to go. Xbox is screwed. I don't know what else you want me to say. We've all seen the warning signs for years now. Everybody has seen them. I don't know what you do now, honestly. And it's sad when I was able to point all this out. So that's the reason why you should subscribe here, because if you go look at my earlier Xbox vids right here, you'll see that I was pointing all of this out previously, that all of these things were happening in front of everyone, but some people just didn't really bring them up, except me. So yeah, right now, you should subscribe, like the video, you should share it around, because I'm awesome, and you love me. You already love me. Look at this face. Zoom into my face, editor. Look at me, right here. Look at this face. How can you not love this face? I got a big forehead. It's lovable. It's endearing. It's like a character flaw. Oh, you gotta love that. Like a humble guy with a big forehead. I'm done now. All right, you guys can go. Bye.